Hey there, beautiful humans. It's getting to the end of 2025 pretty quickly. We've only got a couple days left, and I'm jumping on here just to do a raw video and to walk you through a process that I actually walk every single one of my clients through. Now, it's super, super important. I'm a big believer in this, to not rush into the next year. It's super exciting. It's super new. It's an opportunity to have a clean slate, both mentally and energetically. However, rushing into that without reflecting on the year that was can be a pretty big and silent mistake that happens. Now, you're going to be completely fine if you don't reflect on the year. You'll move on to the next year, and there's things that you're going to achieve and things that, you'll still have your challenges next year. But what you want to do is to not constantly be having the same challenges repeat themselves in your career, in the work that you're doing, in your relationships, and fighting the same battles internally, with your nervous system. And so the process I'm going to take you through, I've just gone through myself, and it's a beautiful way to bring the year into completion, but not just to bring it into completion, but to fully receive all of the gifts that the year had to offer. Because every single challenge, no matter how small or how big, has a gift to offer, has a lesson to be learned, has something for us to receive. And the important thing to remember is that everything in your life right now and everything that was in your life throughout 2025. And when I say everything, I'm talking about the relationships that you've got, the state of those relationships, the situations you're finding yourself in, the state of the business, the state of the company you're working in, whatever it might be. All of it is a reflection of your own inner state. All of it is a reflection of that. The situations that have occurred, you have directly contributed to it, and you have found yourself in these situations as a result of being the one that's in the situation. Your emotional state, your energetic state, your mental state, and the decisions that you've made based on these states, particularly unconsciously, knowing that 90% of our decisions are made from and by the unconscious mind and influenced by what is in the unconscious mind, therefore means that whatever is in front of us right now is a direct reflection of what our state has been. Yeah. And so it's really useful. Let's reflect on the lessons learned, and let's use those lessons to transcend the limitations of those challenges. And none of the challenges, none of the situations, none of the people that came through in our lives were a bad thing. Yeah. All of them created this beautiful, beautiful opportunity. So I want to sit down, go through this with you, and I'm going to personally share my own challenges, my own wins, and the learnings that I've gained through those. So I'm going to share this sheet as well. It's a process that I use and walk my clients through. And also we then, once they've had an opportunity to work through it, we then go through it and refine it and see how does this provide and become fuel for the next year. Yeah. So you've got your end of year reflections on the 7 key areas of life. And the important piece is that it's not as though we need to be full throttle on all areas of our life. Yeah? Sometimes there's a phase of life that requires more attention than others. For example, the business might be requiring more attention than, say, the amount of time that you have available for your physical health. But to throw your physical health completely out is going to be detrimental to your business, to your relationships, to all of the other areas of your life. So it's really important to have, even though we don't need to have them all on full throttle, but to have them somewhat balanced and harmonized between the areas because they're all feeding one another, which is also, there's quite a positive to it. You amplify one and it amplifies the others. So that's the benefit there. Okay. So physical health is the first area in the first bucket. And essentially this year for me, the win and the growth has been probably becoming the strongest that I've ever been. And I don't mean that from me needing to break some records or whatever else, lifting weights, but I'd gone through a 3-year injury, and there were, I'd seen all of the specialists, and I was experiencing 12 out of 10 pain. It was a foot injury that I had that had occurred as a result of a few things, but it happened when I was taking people on an Arctic leadership program and facilitating that program. And midway through, injury to one foot. Then the next day, I thought, these people have paid a hell of a lot of money for this trip, and so I went out and guided them on the next trek that we did, and then the other foot went. And so there were big lessons there. But 3 years, 12 out of 10 pain. Saw the rheumatologist. They were supposed to rheumatologist wanted to put me on a lifelong prescription of methotrexate, which is highly toxic to all of the organs in your body. And because of its toxicity, they wanted me to be having blood tests once a month, every month for the rest of my life. So it was a life sentence, essentially. And I questioned that. Went pretty deep on Zach Bush's work and immune function and so on. And essentially my coach and spiritual teacher at the time had suggested to me, after I was researching stem cell therapy, had suggested that a 7 to 10 day fast has the same level of stem cell activation as stem cell injections do. And so I had nothing to lose there. I did that 10-day water fast, no food. And from day 4, I went on a 90-minute hike, which was 70 minutes longer than any walk I had done across 3 years. And from then onwards, it's just been a continual sort of progression in strength. And so for me to be in the gym now and be going to the gym 5 to 6 days a week, not that you have to do that, but 5 to 6 days a week, being able to work out my full body, be doing the weight sessions barefoot, being able to run full pelt. I have a love for trail running. And the fact that I can do that I can run, and the very thought that I can, and I will be able to be running around with my future kids in my future family is something that I wasn't sure was going to be possible. So from a physical health point of view, I'm feeling fitter and stronger than I ever have before. And I did an Ironman just prior to this injury. So it feels good to be in this state right now. And I guess my biggest challenge, or the challenge this year, given that new lease on life through physical health, I've kind of, in moments, been going too hard for too many days. And so, the learning there is definitely to practice what I preach and to allow that relaxation and the integration, even from the physical activity. Which makes a lot of sense and is quite obvious. But when I'm enjoying it so much, and it's not a chore that I need to do to go out and move my body, it's essentially my coffee in the morning, where it wakes my body up, and it feels really difficult to do life without the movement. So finding that balance, having lower days of intensity, and I don't necessarily need to not go, but just have that balance between all of the days, and maybe still attend every day, and replace it with other forms of physical activity. So really basic stuff, but being diligent with that balance there. So super stoked from a physical perspective. From a mental and emotional health perspective, now let's talk about the growth and the wins here. So the physical health was I'm just going to shift this for a moment, 2 seconds. Okay. Yeah, so from a mental and emotional health perspective, the physical health has fueled mental and emotional health big time, and starting to really find the full span of this window again. So essentially, it was a really challenging 2 years leading up to this year. uh, challenging because of a business separation. I was, a business that I'd had for 11 years and separating out of that. Then another business venture that I had entered to support in a pretty high level as a director, and things not going too well there as a result of some things I was unaware of, and I didn't, let's just say there was maybe a little bit too much trust and faith as a result of the people that I got involved with were friends, and so that didn't end super well. And it was a long saga for 12 months. With the ATO and a whole bunch of things. So, a lot of stresses and that were filling my cup up. And then this year, a separation out of and a completion and an ending of a 7-year relationship that's been done with a lot of love and a lot of care and a lot of compassion, but wasn't without its hurt, wasn't without its pain. And essentially it's been done in such a healthy way, and there's so much love and connection for the other person as a human being, and the other person, you might know, we're still working together, Sarah. So we're now currently probably in the best state that we've ever been in, but that was a huge challenge, and I think all of those things had really filled or loaded my nervous system up, had really brought me to the edge of my window of tolerance, of my capacity. And because I was operating and didn't necessarily have an opportunity to be able to rebalance because of how many different things were filling up that cup, that my load was so full for so long consistently, I feel like this year has really it's been the completion of all of that and a rebalancing. Even though I was doing all of the things that were useful, I just didn't have enough time without a stress and a large stress in my life. And we know that stress is okay and necessary and a part of life in that sense. But when it's happening for that long, sometimes life throws you that sort of a curveball. And when there's a few curveballs, it can be quite challenging. And so, mentally and emotionally, I feel like I've been the most challenged in the last, not the year that's just passed, but probably the 2 years leading up to it. And this year's been a catching up of that, being the most challenged mentally, emotionally, my nervous system, and really putting a lot of the work that I do and support others with into practice for myself. And I think I did a pretty damn good job. And there's areas that I'd love to improve on, for sure. And so spoken to that. And then the learnings, the main learnings there, essentially transitions are a necessary part of life, and transitioning from one phase to another, whether it's in business, whether it's in relationship, it isn't something that we can bypass. And the shortest cut in that process is to feel it fully, to feel the pain fully, to allow oneself to feel the burn. And that is the only way to be able to process it in the healthiest way, and to be able to receive the gift, the lesson, and the realignment that it's offering up. It's been an amazing opportunity to be able to put all of this work into practice. And whether you beginning of this year, I started playing around with, holding it loosely, but, playing around with some of the numerology stuff and some astrology stuff, and just reading into a few of the things. And there were some interesting things that have popped up. And this year, whether you believe it or not, but useful to just play around with it, is that this year was the year of the 9, and it was the year of the snake, and both of those represent endings and sheddings and completions and the finishing of things. And what we're moving into is the year of the fire horse and the year of the 1, and they're kind of separate but similar. And when you're talking about numerology, or Chinese the Chinese calendar and those animals. I don't even know all too much about it, but the animals that are associated with all of those and the year of your birth and so on, according to the Chinese calendar. But this is for everyone. Yeah. So the fire horse is all about new beginnings, is all about momentum, is all about being bold and precision and intuition and being guided by that and a trust in that. And the year prior, so 2025, was really a letting go of anything that might distract us away from the clarity of that message coming through for us. So interesting to read into, and at the very least, I like to use it as a bit of a frame to hold things through and to have it, have it support some of my intentions moving into next year. And for me personally, check in with yourself. But for me personally, it really, it feels aligned, and it has mirrored what last year was about, and the last 2 years really felt like one big year, and what the next year is moving into. So the next area of life is spiritual health. And the last year has really had me reconnect at an even deeper level. I remember coming into this year feeling like I had an intention that I wanted to go balls deep in business and balls deep in spirituality. Excuse the language there, but to go just as deep in business as I do in spirituality, and vice versa, and to be on the nth degree of both of those areas of my life, business and spirituality, at 150% for both. Yeah, rather than one being sacrificed over the other, and really allowing that to be a possibility. And how that's come through for me has been, just super beautiful. Just recognizing that me being connected spiritually to something greater than myself, and to a greater version of myself, in essence, actually allows business as service to come through in such a powerful way, and for it to be more pure, for it to be more enjoyable, even when there are challenges. And so combining those two, they were never actually separate, but the last year has been a really beautiful and only the beginning of a path where that is super clear to me, that my spiritual world and my business world are not separate. And when I say spiritual, it has nothing to do with religion. It's really simply knowing thyself and allowing the truest expression of myself come through, and really supporting others in that same way, so that they can have the most positive impact in this world and in their personal lives and relationships and so on. So really reconnected with that in a big way. And the challenges around that, particularly, I guess when there's challenging moments in life, to be able to rest into this deeper knowing that it all ends up working out, and there is a perfection to it all, even in moments where it doesn't feel like that. And this year really reiterated that for me, particularly with the completion of a 7-year relationship, which I'll get into a little more. And so just a remembering that it always passes, and that all in this human experience, everything in this human experience is transient. It comes, it goes. And, I can teach this, I can share this with people. And then when it comes to my own life, in the midst of pain, in the midst of a challenge, in the midst of stress, to allow that to come through is the work, really. And to remember that in that moment, rather than, being someone that talks about it but doesn't actually apply it themselves in the moments that matter. So, really powerful year for that, and to refine my spiritual processes and trust and surrender in the greater path. And so then you've got social relationships in that bucket there. The social and relationships, the growth and the wins. So I put down here as a growth and a win that ending and completing a long-term relationship in a connected way, that was the win. that it happened in a connected way. It could have ended in all sorts of ways. Yeah. And I'm so proud of both myself and Sarah that in the midst of the storm that it can be and how difficult it can be, that we've managed to, whilst sharing so much together, sharing 7 years together, sharing visions for a life together, and all of that intertwined, and sharing a business together, and the work that we do and our interest, all of that, to allow. I remember being in the Netherlands at Sarah's parents' place, and Sarah's mum was doing a garden architecture course. We were watching one of those quite boring, but you can find it interesting, gardening shows, and it's some older English dude on there, and he had these two plants that were entangled at the roots, and he started talking about how it's really important with these plants to separate them, but to do so slowly so that you can allow for separation without causing damage. And when I heard that and saw that, I thought, that's Sarah and I. That's the process we're kind of going through right now. And so we lived separately for 12 months whilst kind of still together, and then brought that to completion 4 or 5 months ago. And yeah, have a whole heap of gratitude and appreciation for her as a human being, and it's taught me a lot. The relationship has taught me a lot, and what's possible in relationships coming together, but also ending and completing, both on a personal level, but also on a business level, what's possible in terms of coming out the other end. And sometimes you continue to walk paths, but the state of the relationship has changed and it's no longer romantic. It might be more work-wise, but there's still a deep friendship. And sometimes you don't continue to walk a path together, but there can be a recognition of what was, what is, and that we no longer walk paths moving forward. And that can be really healthy. We don't have to hold on to every relationship all of the time, and becoming really good with death, with completions, and knowing that this is birth and rebirth is happening constantly in micro and macro form. So yeah, really beautiful deepening of that concept for myself as a lived experience and process in my life. Yeah. And so, yeah, I guess the big challenge there, when you've been with someone for a while, for a very long while, 7 years, my longest relationship as a 38-year-old, and allowing the psyche to reorganize itself. There's these little tags of, visions that you had for, okay, those are going to be my parents-in-law or whatever it might be. And so allowing those to reorganize, and doing that in the Northern Rivers and Bali here in Australia makes that, it's quite a tight-knit community here. So it kind of felt like I had no choice but to be right in the middle of it. I couldn't necessarily go to a different town, particularly when you run a company called Breathwork Byron. Shot myself in the foot with that one. Thanks, Edward. And yeah, I guess another challenge. There's an element of my personality that was people pleasing, but there's a spectrum in people pleasing, right? But I just love being connected to everyone and shared experiences, and it's probably why I love running retreats and so on and so on. And since I was a little child, just always wanted to be friends with everyone and so on, and that came with a cost as well. That I would often not speak my own truth or what was a need of mine or important to me, as long as everyone else was okay in that sense. And that's fully my responsibility, and a big realization that I've had around that, and something that I'm looking to own and to speak my truth more frequently as it arises. And what comes with that is, when that shift happens here, people that are around me know a particular version of me. And if that shift is happening, then there's going to be a shift in how I am in their perception and interpretation. And so It might be people that I've worked with or have been working with, and it can ruffle up some feathers and disturb or not sit so well with some people if I'm speaking just more clearly as to what's needed. And it hasn't been easy for me to do that either. I guess what I've read is that people that had these tendencies to maybe people pleasing tendencies to just speak your truth might feel like you're crossing the biggest boundary or doing the most, causing so much conflict. But really it's just healthy and normal. So yeah, that's been a challenge, and sitting with the consequences of that, but knowing that if I've spoken my truth, whatever happens as a result of that, if I've done it in a healthy way, whatever happens as a result of that is simply a realignment and what's necessary. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm learning. It's been a big lesson that's just been deepened in a big way to not sacrifice a need of mine, mainly because that's not serving anyone, whether it's the business, people I'm working with, relationally, personally, and so on. And big learnings in relationships, it always takes two to tango, always takes two to tango. And the very first thing that I do is I look at what was my role in that? How did I contribute to that? What was my responsibility in that? And I need to own that. And that is the most powerful thing that I can do. And it's also simultaneously one of the most challenging things to do, because the construct and ego can relieve itself from discomfort by pointing at someone else. But every situation that we are in, just by being in the situation, we are contributing to it in one way or another. So we can't escape that. And so that's get super clear on that, and to be able to do that more swiftly and with more ownership has been an awesome opportunity this year. And the big lesson as well, good human relationships are everything, including the one with myself. But, a small pocket of friends that I've really tightened my relationship with this year, and how important those connections and relationships are. And I'm forever and ever grateful for the support and depth of connection that I have with these humans, and realizing that, you don't need 1,001 friends, and but go very deep with a few. Career and business, growth and wins. Oh, it's been a pretty big year and a pretty big shift, actually, and the relationship ties into it, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video and the recording, that every area of life feeds into and is connected to another. And so, the relationship and the breakup there and the separation, that definitely influenced work as well, and particularly because Sarah and I were working together. So with the business, there's been, let's managing to reorganize the structure of the business as a result of working together has been a challenge, but also a win to do that in a pretty healthy and connected way. And then also some, really epic wins around, going to two business masterminds that were a part of a 12-month-long business mentorship, and working with Founder OS and Matt Gray, which I love because he's got such an authentic approach to sales and marketing and organic content. And so, this is from a guy that's never done any content, and, for the last 14 years built businesses as a platform for others to shine on. And I thought I was doing a super noble thing, building these platforms and even festivals and so on for other people to shine on with their work. However, I was actually, probably playing a little small and not wanting to put myself in the spotlight, because I didn't want to say something that others might not agree with or might not like, or whatever else that was. And so, the courage to be disliked, not in a bad or negative way, but just, it's impossible. Beautiful book as well, Courage to be Disliked. It's a Japanese concept, and it's impossible for everyone to like you. So, Matt Gray's been amazing in that support, and spent, a fair bit of money on that, in the space of 18 months. That's $78,000 that's been spent on that. However, the people that I managed to find myself with next to, the way that I'm approaching and perceiving business and has completely shifted and changed. And so, yeah, I'm still a part of that. I've extended that for another 6 months. And so we had a Bali mastermind, Austin mastermind, which is super cool. Met some incredible humans that have now turned into collaborations and partnerships, which is another huge win for 2025. There's some big things happening that started to happen and are going to continue to grow in 2026. With the deep dive reset retreat, which we ran this year and we've been running for the last few years, deep dive reset retreat for leaders and founders. And yeah, the form that that's taking and how that's going to evolve in next year and moving forwards, where it's not simply, with biohacking, you might be taking a whole bunch of metrics and data and so on and so on. We're going to start including some of those, but we're also going to be attending to the deepest psycho-spiritual somatic work that you could be doing, right through to your physical health, your emotional, mental health, the vision for your business, and so on and so on. So there's some really unique ways and mechanisms we're going to be doing this, and I'm really excited for it. And I'm excited for the partnerships that are coming into play with that. Also with the retreat venues, some incredible retreat venues that we're going to be working with, one in particular, and I cannot wait to bring that through. Yeah, also ran 2 cohorts of the 90-day embodied nervous system mastery program. And that was incredible. There was a whole cohort after the retreat that came into that and really grounded and made the shifts and insights from the retreat real for themselves, providing a whole heap of clarity and vitality and sort of, making this work something that lasts well beyond the retreat space. And yeah, and then monthly Sydney and Melbourne breathwork trips every single month, and it's been really incredible to do that and support the up and coming breathwork practitioners that are coming through. So this year we had our first FBR, facilitated breath repatterning practitioner training outside of Bali. And so a huge thank you there to Edward Dangerfield, founder of FBR and Breathwork Bali, and really trusting Sarah and myself to facilitate this outside of Bali in Australia. And we've got our next one happening next year, and we're super excited for it. And it was a big journey, and it might be a little different to going and doing an accounting course or something like that, where it's as much a personal transformation process as it is a professional transformation process in becoming a practitioner in this. So yeah, take my hat off to the people that have now come through that training and become practitioners in a pretty potent, safe, and effective modality there. So they're pretty much the growth and wins and personal brands. So a big shift, as I said, I used to be the guy in the background and let everyone else be the face of everything. And that's nice as well, but people these days want to interact with the person behind the business. Not many people are super interested in interacting with Apple, in interacting with Virgin, the company, in interacting with Tesla, right? But it's the people that, for better or worse, that we really love to engage with and interact with. So founder-led brands, that became really important. So it's been a big shift for me to be front and center. I've personally been super comfortable with that when it's come to in-person retreats and offerings and speaking and so on. However, when it's been, in front of camera and for social media, it's always felt like a drag and doing it for the sake of doing it. But that's completely shifted for me now, and bringing that through. And for me, it feels like I'm able to connect. I myself am able to connect more deeply with the people that are viewing it and the people that are engaging with the videos, and so on and so on. Prior to this, I did zero social media, zero, for 14 years in business. It was still happening and other people were doing it, but I did none of it, and I wasn't on much of it, right? And so now, creating one YouTube video and dedicating myself to that a week, and I'm looking to get to 100 videos and creating high value content that is actually beneficial and stuff that you can walk away with, and allowing that YouTube video to then really inspire content on a weekly basis in a high value newsletter and high value LinkedIn content and high value Instagram content. All of a sudden there's 18 pieces that get created out of that one. So that feels, it's all my wording in there and me speaking, and it just takes the transcript from the YouTube and I reorganize that into stuff that can be used and be useful for you guys in email, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Yeah, so challenges there: healthy separation, reorganization of the business, learnings, communication, and transparency is key. It really deepened that as an understanding for me. And two individuals fully living their truth is stronger than two living one compromised truth. So Sarah and I, the company, when we were functioning more as the company, the two of us would compromise probably parts of our expression to conform to the company's expression. And now we're able to have more of our own true expression come through. And as a result of that, our own flavors coming through mean that there's people that are resonating with that more strongly. There's a broader spectrum of humans that are resonating with how I deliver the work and then with how Sarah delivers the work. And I think that's really beautiful, and it allows for a more pure connection with the people that I'm working with, that Sarah's working with. So yeah, that's been powerful. And then the final, it's not the final, but your legacy and mission, huge. Yeah, like why do we do what we're doing? And whether that's being a mother or like the business that we're running or the content, whatever. Not that I'm being a mother, but just throwing that in there. Why are we doing all of it? And reconnecting with that and having that front and center constantly is what makes it all meaningful. And essentially, I do feel that we have a universal purpose as human beings, and that is for each of us to be shining our personal expression and light as brightly as possible in whatever form that may take. And that is the highest form of value that we could provide the entire world. And we couldn't provide more value than that. And if we can recognize ourselves as one with it all that's running through here and let that expression truly come through in the form of big business, whatever we're doing, then that business could not benefit or be of higher value than if the founder is doing that, if a leader is doing that within a business. So, yeah, that's our universal purpose, I believe, and the mission. The mission has just become super, super clear for me. Where, well, if I go to the growth and wins here, that massive realignment and refinement through personal brand, as I've already spoken to, and a real full commitment to this deep nervous system and inner work. Yeah, having run a series of physiotherapy clinics and being a part of that world, and also running these retreats, they were kind of two worlds that were slightly separate and quite separate. And to have let go of a business that was established, that was providing a very solid and consistent source of income, to enter and fully commit myself to work that I absolutely love and spend more time actually working, but it not feeling like work, has been freedom, and is probably a definition of freedom that's become clear to me. That to love what you do and how you're spending your time in your life is freedom. And if that is working a whole heap, but you're loving what you're doing, then that is freedom in and of itself, and having good humans in that. So yeah, there have been challenges and limitations in the area of legacy and mission, essentially. Moving away from the previous business, and also, I guess, just simply the relationship and reorganizing the structure there and the missions, and having a more personal mission in my work, and Sarah doing the same for herself there, and the learnings. Yeah, essentially,
the clarity I have on who I'm wanting to work with, and entrepreneurs, leaders, founders, there is something about the way that these humans perceive life and engage in the quality of possibility and see opportunity, possibility. There is a way. That there is something that I hold so closely and dear to my heart, and I think is a powerful and potent quality as a human being to have in the world. And this world needs that, and that quality needs to be supported. And so I love working with these human beings, which I consider myself to be a part of as an entrepreneur, to have them reconnect with themselves, deepest part of themselves, so that that can more easily shine through, because it always has been shining through in business. But sometimes it just gets distorted because of what the mind thinks that this needs to be, or whatever else. But to support these humans in having dynamic capacity for activation, but also rest and recovery, to be fulfilled in what they're doing and how they're engaging with their work, to be fulfilled in their personal relationships, all of these things, it's the best possible way that I can possibly serve and be of value to the world, and to the pocket of humans that I am to work with, and that I can benefit and support and be of service of. And I just really want to lift up and amplify the capacity of these special human beings. And I think, entrepreneurs and business people can cop a bad rap, and capitalism and corporate and so on can cop a bad rap. However, there's something in, like, we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and business is about solving a problem for society. And if we can have people connect with something greater than themselves, then the impact that they're going to have on the world is going to be more and more and more positive. And we can really tip the scale here. And there's a whole heap of leverage in terms of the positive impact that can occur in the world. So yeah, healthy humans in this space, and they're already healthy in many other ways, but really amplifying their health, and on a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual and relational level, will mean a much better world as well. This is one way. Yeah. So you can see I'm pretty excited about that piece. And then financial health. Yeah. So internal clarity and sovereignty within the business for all involved amplifies healthy independence, rather than like, oh, it's all one pot. In some ways it is, but also, getting clear on and really empowering each human to contribute in their own unique way within our business. And the big one for me around financial is integrating intergenerational money stories. So essentially, having a Polish father and a mother from the Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia, back then, and them fleeing communist Poland and Czech Republic, needing to pretend they were leaving the country, that they were going on holiday to Croatia, to then finally get to Australia. That was the only way they could get here. And my dad was 17 years old, and the decision that he made back then, and my mum made back then, to make their way over to Australia, I'm forever grateful for, because all of the opportunities I have in my life is as a result of those decisions, and what came with the environments that they found themselves in back home in Poland and Czech Republic, communist times, and money stories. They both had opposite money stories. I'm not going to kind of speak to who was who or whatever, but one would really hold on tightly to money, and the other one would spend it like another dollar isn't coming through, right? And so really integrating, I could see patterns within myself of that playing out in life, and it's a process for me to see the useful parts and then the not so useful parts, and transcend those limitations through the learnings, as we're doing here with this process. So integrating those money stories and coming to a realization that giving and receiving money is as natural as breathing. And that's been huge. Receiving breath, giving breath, and the trust that lives in every breath out is the same way that I might treat time spent with someone and really trusting there will be another moment whilst being fully in this moment. The way that I treat money, trusting that more is coming through, and then giving from overflow and from a space of overflow, and really deepening that even further for myself. Yeah, and giving in all forms, both financial but value, and not holding back there at all is the space that I'm in. And Matt Gray's been an incredible inspiration there as well. So that's it, guys. I'm sharing this process and this sheet with you. If you want a copy, you've either received the email or just send me a comment saying 2025, and I will send you a copy of this sheet. And be sure to go through it. Takes about half an hour to walk through. And then this creates the foundation. It actually gets you clear on, okay, these were the challenges, these are the learnings, and this is how next year is going to be different. This is the difference that's going to make the difference next year will be something that didn't happen this year. Because if it was the same as what happened this year and how you showed up this year and the pattern mentally and behaviorally that you showed up with, you're going to have exactly the same year. Different things will happen around you, but just in a different way. Yeah, like the same things will happen, just in a different way. Same patterns. And so if we really want to shift, and it's not to try and make next year different because this year wasn't great, but it's to allow next year to be an even deeper and further expansion and evolution of what you are as a human being and your fullest potential as a human being, whatever that might be for you, and allowing that to come through. And I'm so excited to work with, the expanding community of leaders and founders and entrepreneurs that are willing and ready to meet themselves at a deeper level, meet their nervous system at a deeper level, themselves emotionally, mentally, and relationally, to be with some of the stress that isn't so comfortable, to be and see parts of themselves that aren't so comfortable, but actually amplifies you as a human being. That excites me more than anything. And I'm super excited for 2026 and for the year of the fire horse. Let's just ride that. And yeah, really want to say a big thank you to every single human that I have worked with this year and come into contact with. Thank you so much for contributing to my year and supporting my growth in this way. You have been a part of my life, whether you know it or not. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful completion and end to this year, and I'll see you next year. By the way, I'm also going to be providing you with a vision map for 2026, which I will be jumping on a call to. It'll be a free call. Anyone that wants to jump on, and I'm going to walk people through this vision mapping process to get super clear on 2026. This will be happening in the first week of 2026, thereabouts. Look out for that information. We'll see you there. Let's have a powerful, potent, and connected year 2026. Let's do this.